Welcome to our series Questions and Answers for a World in Crisis. Today, Perfection, Part 2, from Sri Aurobindo. The integral perfection. A divine perfection of the human being is our aim. We must know then first what are the essential elements that constitute man's total perfection. Secondly, what we mean by a divine as distinguished from a human perfection of our being. That man as a being is capable of self-development and of some approach at least to an ideal standard of perfection, which his mind is able to conceive, fix before it, and pursue, is common ground to all thinking humanity. Though it may be only the minority who concern themselves with this possibility as providing the one most important aim of life. But by some, the ideal is conceived as a mundane change, by others, as a religious conversion. The mundane perfection is sometimes conceived of as something outward, social, a thing of action, a more rational dealing with our fellow men and our environment, a better and more efficient citizenship and discharge of duties, a better, richer, kindlier, and happier way of living, with a more just and more harmonious associated enjoyment of the opportunities of existence. By others, again, a more inner and subjective ideal is cherished, a clarifying and raising of the intelligence, will, and reason, a heightening and ordering of power and capacity in the nature, a nobler ethical, a richer aesthetic, a finer emotional, a much healthier and better governed vital and physical being. Sometimes one element is stressed, almost to the exclusion of the rest. Sometimes, in wider and more well-balanced minds, the whole harmony is envisaged as a total perfection. A change of education and social institutions is the outward means adopted, or an inner self-training and development is preferred as the true instrumentation. Or the two aims may be clearly united, the perfection of the inner individual, the perfection of the outer living. So long as there is only an intellectual, ethical, and other self-training for the now normal purposes of life, which does not travel beyond the ordinary circle of the working of mind, life, and body, we are still only in the obscure and yet unillumined preparatory yoga of nature. We are still in pursuit of only an ordinary human perfection, a spiritual desire of the divine and of the divine perfection, of a unity with Him in all our being, and a spiritual perfection in all our nature, is the effective sign of this change, the precursory power of a great integral conversion of our being and living. A greater perfection can only be arrived at by a higher power entering in and taking up the whole action of the being. The second stage of this yoga will therefore be a persistent giving up of all the action of the nature into the hands of this greater power, a substitution of its influence, possession, and working for the personal effort, until the divine to whom we aspire becomes the direct master of the yoga and affects the entire spiritual and ideal conversion of the being. This double character of our yoga raises it beyond the mundane ideal of perfection, while at the same time it goes too beyond the loftier, intenser, but much narrower religious formula. The mundane ideal regards man always as a mental, vital, and physical being, and it aims at a human perfection, well within these limits, a perfection of mind, life, and body, an expansion and refinement of the intellect and knowledge, of the will and power, of ethical character, aim, and conduct, of aesthetic sensibility and creativeness, of emotional balance, poise, and enjoyment, of vital and physical soundness, regulated action, and just efficiency. A yoga of integral perfection regards man as a divine spiritual being involved in mind, life, and body. It aims, therefore, at a liberation and a perfection of his divine nature. Namaste.